All right, you guys. So I want to make a quick video. First things first is, it's not lost on me that I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's not just in real life or online. That's, in all spaces. And when you get older, one of the skills that you need to learn is knowing how much to insert yourself into certain places, based upon, like your overall likability score that you have that you walk around with. And, we all have it. Most people we know are going to be judgmental. And there was a video I shared yesterday that some people saw because I saw that they liked it and that they'd even commented on it after I shared it. It wasn't one of mine, but it was a video that talked about peer dynamics, and it really explained, why baby boomers are the way they are. And a lot of baby boomers favor their group over the collective. And I'm not talking about baby boomers right now, but I might be talking about family members or close friends or people in your circle. And they operate in very much the same way, it seems. You might have people in your life that are younger than you, that could be millennials or Gen Z or Gen X or whatever they are. This is not a conversation right now about generations, but I'm referencing the peer dynamics of relationships because, people who have a tendency to be more selfish than others will have a tendency to fall into peer dynamics. Whereas, if you have, say, like a family member who is more concerned with the way they look and keeping up with the Joneses and the flash and glamour of their friend group or their the people that they work with, and they're more important to them than, say, family, you're likely going to get a more kind of selfish response out of them. The problem is that you need to be able to identify it properly. And a lot of the times this comes out in they're very nice to you when you're around, but they have a lot of things to say when you're gone. And my point in making this video right now is you cannot take that kind of stuff personal. And you cannot let that kind of stuff dictate the relationship you have with them. And you can't let that stuff drive the relationship you have with them, because it just feeds into their dysfunction, and that dysfunction then kind of shapes your whole relationship. And if you say, I'm not like that person, then don't be like that person, and don't let how they are shape your relationship. And people might say, well, then that's more one-sided. You're giving more than that person is. Does it matter? Does it matter to you where you set your boundaries? Wherever you decide to set your boundaries with that person is your decision. Sometimes it might be a little bit more or a little bit less. Sometimes you might be pulled back all the way back to here. And to them, it might feel like you're still giving them everything. Only you know this. And I'm pointing this out because I find that it's important. Because we all have people in our lives that love to come up to us and tell us how wonderful we are. And then, you got to hear from the back channel that they're still saying all these weird things. And the reality is how do we deal with that? Personally, I've gotten to the age, right, where a lot of people say, oh, I don't care about that and you shouldn't care about that, but we see that people do. How do we know this? Because people come to us and say, oh, this person bothers me, that person bothers me, I'm having issues with her or with him. So when you hear somebody say, oh, you shouldn't let people like that bother you, those are usually the first people that are bothered by other people. Just so you know. And people who are under 70 who say, I don't have regrets. Let me tell you something. You need to have regrets. That's a part of growing and learning. If you're in your 40s, you should absolutely be having some regrets. If not, go out and get some. If you've gotten to the age of 40 and you have no regrets, go get some. If you've gotten to 50, I'm going to tell you, like, the dysfunction is going to start to multiply. You need to have regrets, meaning you need to go out and do some things wrong and fail at things and fall on your face and put yourself out there for people who don't reciprocate. You need to have those experiences. That's what living is about. when you get to 70 and you say, I have no regrets, it's because you did those things and you dealt with regret at an earlier age. But if you think you're magically walled off from caring about how people feel about you, you're a liar. If you think you're magically walled off from regret, you're a liar. And you're not being honest with yourself. In terms of you being a liar, you're not being honest with yourself. So I would tell you, go be honest with yourself. Spend some time and work on these things that you know you need to work on. And they all start with life experience. Go out and get more. Do not be afraid to go out and fail. Do not be afraid to go out and say the wrong thing. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there for someone who may not reciprocate. Because at least at the end of it, my friends, you're going to know. And that's, for a while we have those regrets, and then we work through them and we get past them, and there are no longer regrets after that, right? But to suppose that, all these things you're immune from, that's foolishness, and you know it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, there's a few minutes about personal relationships I wanted to share with you because I've dealt with two people today that don't know each other, that are so far apart culturally and age-wise and demographic-wise, but yet they're going through the same exact thing. And both of them, if I put them in the room together, wouldn't believe that their issues were very similar to near identical, right? We all think we're special. We all think we're driven by, so we all think we're driven by our culture and our cultural choices and, our upbringing and our morals and standards. But we all go through the same things. It's how we deal with it that is what matters. And not dealing with it is not discipline. Don't fool yourselves on that either. Anyways, choose life, be well, practice kindness, speak to people in the way you wish to be spoken to. Think of me when you got something you need to have addressed or have a burning desire, or you even want to come yell at me. Shop is open for, angry concern. I got you. Okay? Be good.